Good evening, Battle Creek, and thanks for joining us again for this edition of Our View. And we're picking up a conversation from last month about over-medicating in poverty, not just like indulging, self-medicating and over-medicating in poverty. Had a pretty rich discussion, so we're just going to kind of pick up there. Again, joining me today is Mia Henry, our new work experience recruiter, Valerie Whitney, our program coordinator, and Sean Washington from
The Milestone Project.
The Milestone Project. I was going to be really close. So last time we talked about all the different reasons why we thought people are self-medicating and why maybe even, well, I don't know if we really got to the why the doctors are over-medicating folk, but then how would we know that, right? I mean, summations.
Well, there's great research to support not only the medication that's being offered to people of color, people in poverty. As early as 2016, I found research supporting that doctors, med students actually had a belief that black people had thicker skin, that they did not tolerate, that they tolerated pain better, so they needed less pain medication.
It's not true.
It's not true at all, but it was believed.
Watch, I'll show you.
Right. Sue her. It's on film. You got it. But when you look at that as a belief amongst medical professionals, that's going to impact how they prescribe medication. And one of the things that we know for the opiate epidemic, part of that whole situation is completely and totally based on a person not managing pain. So
right.
You have someone that reports pain, and my pain isn't being managed. I'm not getting the medication I need to be able to keep that under control so then I can get healthy, just diet, all those type of things. Depression's coming at you fast. Mm-hmm. And so you'll under-medicate my pain, but you'll replace it with depression pills. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't do anything for my pain, but at least I don't have some of the thoughts that I might have. I now have some of the depression symptoms I might have, but I still have the pain. And so I think those things go hand in hand. You can't really talk about one without discussing the other, at least in today's day and age. So,
well, and there's the sharing of stuff too, right? Like, we've actually heard members say, "Oh, girl, I got Xanax. Like, just take one of these,"
Mm-hmm.
and they honestly think they're doing something to be helpful,
right.
And maybe not. I mean, those things are supposed to be prescribed under a doctor's care, but then there's like these years of medication, right? Like we were just talking about commercials. I see the commercial where somebody has been on antidepressants for a long length of time and they start to develop tics. It's like you question, and again, I know that there are people who generally need to be on these medications to be okay. I also know that there are a lot of people who are on these medications for far too long, and nobody's talking to them about how to get off of them.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, correct? I mean, no one's talking to them.
Right.
They have no community. They have no social network.
Right.
They've gotten medication, but they haven't been shown, like, oh, in your community, I just started playing pickleball because I'm old, obviously. And I'm only 38, but I mean, anyway. So,
48, but we won't tell anybody. Sean, we won't tell nobody.
Don't need you to the same math class. But, I'm playing because I want to meet new people, because I want to find cool things to do in the community. I want to be part of something. And just even a sport where I'm hitting the ball around a tennis court is still, I'm part of that community for a minute.
Right.
And I have no basketball skills, so that's out of the question. But, so I had to find sports that I could actually pick up in middle age and still have fun with. Mm-hmm. Where are those opportunities being highlighted for people that now I've got my depression under control medically? Now, what do I do to be able to someday taper down off of this and use the tools that our bodies actually provided for us? Mm-hmm. Physical exercise, social interactions, just going outside when we have 4 days of sun and just taking in some vitamin D.
It's Michigan, Sean, slow down.
3 days of sun, sorry.
Okay. So we don't have that in our community, right? I mean, do we? Do we, Val?
I don't think so. And I don't think that even if we do have it, it's not. So you hear all the time about, oh, we have this program and that program. Well, I've never heard of that program. How do we find out about that stuff? So there's, we have a website. Okay, but I don't have
How
the
do you know to
ability.
look at the website if you don't know
Right,
about
and I don't
it?
have the capability to just sit on a computer and search things all day long. And then, if I'm searching that kind of stuff, do I really want people to know that I have these back? Well, I'm coming to this support group because of A, B, or C. I don't want people to know that because our community has gotten so close mouth, I guess, that no one wants to really talk about what the underlying issues are.
Yeah,
No one
there's
wants to
stigmas
talk
around it.
about those things because I don't want people to know that I take antidepressants because I'm depressed. I don't want people to know that I drink in the closet on the weekends because I'm depressed. I don't want people to know that. I don't, but I'm just saying. I don't want people to know those things. And if that's the way that it looks when I'm showing up in these spots and they're like, oh, she's here because she's depressed and so we need to be tender with her. No, just treat me like I'm everybody else who's out there playing pickleball or whatever you're playing and just let me be. This is how I'm going to relieve some of that anxiety and some of that stress that I'm going through, and also building up with all of the stuff that everyone's been through with COVID and the shutdowns and having to wear a mask and all this other stuff. You'd be surprised how far people will take those social cues to where they'll hide and become introverted to a point to where I'm not leaving the house today.
You know, I really too have seen a much higher level, and I have anxiety myself too, and it's bad for me. I spent the whole time during the pandemic going to Zoom meetings and doing everything virtually. And now that we're getting back into our jam again, like I went to a meeting with partners yesterday, and it was like, wow, like I felt so anxious. And it was at the college where I'm completely comfortable with 4 partners that I know and love. But just to like leave my space at co-op and go out into the community. So I totally get it with our membership too, that that's part of the reason why they're not jumping back out there into the game again, because it's hard when you've isolated like that. And I think that isolation during the pandemic clearly looked different economically. People from poverty couldn't go somewhere. I couldn't get a B&B somewhere and go stay somewhere else for a minute or get away. Homeschooling was harder. I mean, just a slew of things were harder for families at a lower economic class. And there was a lot of isolation in that. But where do we go from here in our community? Like, what do we do in Battle Creek? Like, I know one thing, which I'd like to let folks know. If you are in crisis, if you do feel depressed, if you are feeling like you're not coping as well as you could be, there is a 24-hour crisis line and place, right? It's open. You can just show up there through Summit Point. And I think they're going to put that on the screen for us. But you can reach out to Summit Point's 24-hour crisis services, and they can connect you to different things. But what do we do as a community? Like, what if I don't think that it's that bad for me, but I just need to get connected to some pickleball somewhere and be community? What do we have in Battle Creek? Like, you don't call 211, right? Or could you, Mia? Maybe you could call 211 and know. Would they know that?
They'll give you some numbers, I think.
Would they know about pickleball and different things like that? I think
They might be able to refer you to the Battle Creek recreational website, that says what all is going on in Battle Creek that's tied to our city, but
Do we have that? Like, if you go on our city website, does it tell you where to go have fun and
There's
things
like
that are happening?
you can type in Battle Creek events, but it's very vague and there's not much. But I think, so me, coming into the Women's Co-op, I didn't know a lot about it, to be honest, just because I didn't know a lot about it. So I got on the website, I looked it up, and as I've been with the co-op, I've learned about more and more things that you actually do down there. I didn't know about street court. Like, there's just a lot of things that I didn't know about. And then kingdom builders, a lot of things I didn't know about. And I think what I'm seeing from my perspective is that I don't think these outlets, New Level Sports, Washington Heights, are using social media in an effective way. like big corporations, like I know that this is grant money and everybody can afford to do these kind of things, but there are smart people everywhere, right, that'll help you for free. But I really think that the social media presence and the way big corporations get their information out is social media. And I feel like that a lot of nonprofits could really benefit from some good social media help, because that's the only way people are getting their information anymore. Flyers don't work. You know what I mean? Like all the wonderful things that Washington Heights is bananas what they're doing. But if you're not on Facebook at the right, you know what I mean, you won't know.
If you're not specifically
if you
connected to
don't
Washington
know,
Heights, you don't know what they're
if
doing.
Jackie's not your aunt, or you don't happen to know, like if you're not in the know, you don't know. So I think
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's
because
a
in all
barrier.
honesty, like I know that too. Like I have friends at Washington Heights Ministry. I love Chris McCoy. I mean, we're not great friends, but we know each other. And I surface level know what's happening at New Level Sports. But I'm not connected to those things, so I don't always know what's going on. And, you know, a lot of those things could benefit our families at Co-op, but we don't have the information to pass to them, to tell them.
Networking, better social media presence. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a marketing person, but I definitely
Who's the
think that's
person
an issue.
in the community? Like, okay, so this show is all about our civic engagement, how we're going to show up civically in Battle Creek and say, hey, from a seat in poverty, this is what we think is wrong and this is how we think you could make it better. Who is the target in Battle Creek? Who are the partners that we would want to talk to about this? Like, does Summit Point matter
Oh, for
in this discussion?
I think they matter, but so can we roll back just a minute?
We can roll back as
Okay.
far as you want to.
So I think the people that we need to talk to first, by far, are our parents. And the reason why we need to talk to our parents is simple. It's that 3 out of every 4 parents out there is shoving their kids into sports. 1 out of every 4 adults play a sport. So the message there is, it's not that being active is important, it's that having your kids active is important. That's what we're teaching our kids. So when they become adults, they go, well, you know, when I was a kid, I played softball. When I was a kid, I played football. When I was a kid, I played soccer. But as an adult, we don't do those things. We hunt, we fish, we drink, we smoke.
We
Those
watch
are the
TV.
Right, but we don't do those activities. Those are things that for kids. You know, well, I play soccer every Monday, and every Monday when I tell people about, you know, oh, I'm going out for soccer, I'm going to have some fun, they're like, you're going to hurt yourself. Like, no, you don't get old. You don't get you don't stop because you get old. You get old because you stop. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep doing. And yeah, sometimes I come off the pitch and I'm a little beat up, but I'm living my life. I'm having a great time.
And there's time to sleep at the nursing home.
Exactly.
Right? Lots
While
of
they're
time to
giving you
sleep when we
pudding.
get there. Yeah.
Right, and I will
and sleep.
I'm gonna love that pudding. So the thing is that I think our parents aren't they aren't actually modeling the appropriate behaviors. The behaviors they're modeling are drinking, sleeping, working way too hard, and being stressed. And so if we inject into our parents, if we as a community say we are going to encourage our parents to get involved, we're going to encourage our young adults, or 24, 25-year-olds, to stop having to drive all the way to Kalamazoo for something fun to do. We're going to have
But
some
have it
stuff here.
But what
Penetrator
are we?
events.
What are we going to do? And again, you know, like there have been some things around the community. Like there was the Energy Nook downtown, and I used to love driving through after work, and they'd all be out there
Yeah,
doing
cardio
cardio drumming, and like I wanted to jump out my car and be like,
There's
it was
some axe
good,
throwing.
right?
There's some axe throwing.
but there's cost to those things. Our families don't have money for that. They barely have enough money to make A to Z happen at home. There isn't that extra disposable income. So what's there for them? Like I know Full Blast has 1 free day if you can actually get your body in there when they have it, because it's jam-packed that day.
Oh, yeah.
It isn't just the one day that
They
they
used
have.
1 or 2. They did. I think they did 2 a couple years ago.
Which is really cool because all families can access it, but that's once or twice a year.
At the end of the season or at the beginning of the season when
Right.
no one else is going, it's 38 degrees outside and I got
And
a
we
free
do
day.
have some cool stuff. Like they put the splash pad over at Claude Evans Park, and they've got a really nice basketball court over there. But again, how much are we encouraging people to use those things, and how much are we encouraging community around it?
And all of those things are great for 13 and under.
Right.
But the people that are taking the antidepressants are 18 to dead. So
Right, 18 to dead.
right. So we have all of these things where we're investing in our youth until they no longer find a splash pad interesting. And then after that, if you don't play sports in school, you're stuck.
Right.
And as soon as you hit 18, the community does this. It
Yep.
says, have a good day. And if you want to have fun, Kalamazoo's that way. There's not, Grand Rapids is over that way. But here, no, you come here to work, you come here to sleep, and then you get out of here when you want to do something interesting. Unless you know the people. If, like, I make fun of Jeremy Andrews all the time because he's one of the,
But he's like the fun police, right?
I dream of the day that finally Jeremy says the right things to me where I'm like, I finally get to beat this guy up. I've been waiting so long. It's going to be amazing. But he doesn't ever say it enough. And then he starts making me laugh and I fall back in love with the guy. But he knows like the interesting things that happen. He's out there taking a chance.
Yep.
He's willing to do some stuff. And not all of his stuff is like great for me, but the people that he supports, I mean, how many years have we been doing a sled event in this weird little town? You know, sleds of all types, just sliding down a hill, and people having a blast.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Totally.
Never heard about it.
The rock thing he
Which is
does
my
in the
point.
summer.
See, there you
I
go.
put, I
Don't
put
know
my
anything about
kids
it.
in literally everything. We go to lame stuff. Lollapalooza is not lame. We go to that. We go to Art Walk. We go to CART. We go to any little weird thing that we hear about Battle Creek's having when they have the Jamaican Fest downtown or the Island Fest or whatever. But sometimes we don't even hear about it. Like last year, we literally drove by Island Fest, didn't know what was going on until it was too late. The farmers market, we're driving downtown at 2 o'clock, they're packing up. So it goes back to there might be a bunch of hidden gems in Battle Creek going on, but
we
we're
don't
not
know
hearing
about
about
it.
them.
You
And
know,
that's where
Food
I
Truck
go back
Fridays,
to
too. I
social
didn't hear
media.
about that.
We need to find ways. I don't know if we need to collaborate with each other, send each other's, flyers out, or give our members other people's information, or maybe we come together with everybody and okay, what are you guys doing? What do y'all have on the plate? But the information is just not getting out there.
Like
I know
a
they play
community board
basketball
or
at
something.
Kingdom Builders all the time. So what I've heard, I think Washington
roller
Heights
skates in there,
has
too.
Oh,
the thing open for basketball and all kind of stuff goes on, but you don't hear about it day of or after it happened. There's pictures.
Or even other things
Or
like I
someone
know
goes
that
live that minute. Like
one of the things I think is amazing that Washington Heights does is twice a week they have dinner church. So they're feeding folk a good meal, but you're also getting to eat that meal around a table with a whole lot of other people, right? Where you're getting that connection and community. But a lot of our folks didn't know about it.
Is the reason why? Do you think there's a connection between these things that are happening and the fact that they may not necessarily be happening in the communities that we're talking about, in the neighborhoods that we're talking about? Are folks from the South Side not as aware of what's going on over in the North Side?
Oh, I definitely think that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I definitely think that. And then I think transportation is
Post
key
Edition is
to
a
it.
whole other island. You don't.
Yeah,
even,
they are, and they
For-
really are an island at this
When I
point
was a
right
kid,
now.
I didn't even know what Post Edition was. Didn't know there was a South Side. Didn't know that. I was WK. That's what I knew. I didn't even.
Oh, you're one of those
Well, and that
kids.
goes back to something that you said in the last episode too, Sean. You were talking about, this rich history that Battle Creek has, but we live off of that rich history and we're not creating the future story. I feel like that, like with Post Edition, like the history of how we got Post Edition and why it was built is beautiful to me. It's beautiful. There was so much pride around that to all the families that live there, but those are not the families that live there now. And how do we bolster that back up? I mean, I was talking to a colleague about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I won't name you, but you know who you are. And we were talking about services for Post Edition and, revitalizing that. And this person actually looked at me and said, well, they're kind of past their threshold. What does that mean? What does that mean? And what does that mean for the future of that neighborhood? Like, I thought that was a really disgusting thing to say about a group of people who lived in a neighborhood.
And here's another thing you need to realize too, that a lot of these things that are happening at Washington Heights Church or happening at Kingdom Builders or at New Level Sports, as a mom who's a single mom who has 3 or 4 kids, and I hear, oh, Washington Heights, they're having dinner church. And this is by no means, this is just my own thought process that I've heard from some other members. Oh, Washington Heights. No, I can't take my kids up there. That's in the hood. I can't go up there with my kids.
You know, that happened with the splash pad too, because when we found out about that, I thought it was a beautiful thing for kids, and it's free, right? Like, I'm not bashing full blast. They need to make money off of what they're doing, but the splash pad at Claude Evans Park did not. And it's just a little mini version of that. And I took my grands up there when I found out about it, and they just had a blast. I mean, they just had a blast. And so I started telling member families about it, and so did Val. Like, hey, you know, this summer you should take your kids up here because this is so cool. And then the shootings happened. And they literally happened directly across the street from that park. And I gotta admit, even myself, I don't want to take my grandkids back up there. And what does that make me? What does that make me in this community? I know it makes me feel bad to even
I
say
don't
this
let
at
my
this table.
16-year-old go to Claude Evans.
But it makes me feel bad that we're right. But we're trying
Right, no,
to build
no, I
up
know
a
what
better
you're saying.
community,
We're trying to do
and
better,
I feel the
but-
same way you do.
Yeah,
I'm not taking
yeah.
my grandkids up
I
there.
used
God
to go.
forbid.
My dad sent us there 8 hours a day when I was a kid, every day to get free lunch and play basketball. But now, no.
Yeah,
I hate to say it.
Yeah.
And-
you do. You hate
I
to
hate to
say
say
it, but
it.
it's a reality, right?
And I think
Love that
the reality for me is completely different because as a youth, I grew up on the South Side, and I knew the folks over on the South Side. I knew like my Wilson School kids, my Southwestern folks, like my props. I knew South Side. North Side folks, that wasn't us. Like we
Right.
didn't go over there, and that was it literally could be a danger to us to go over there because there was beef. There was
There was a lot of
legitimate
beef.
beef.
Oh,
and,
really?
and
Oh,
so it as an adult, even as a middle-aged adult, when I got a job and I had to go over to South Side, to go from the South Side to the North Side and walk in, and I didn't recognize people. People didn't recognize me, and I was like, ugh. They're like, "Are you from around here?" I'm like, "Yeah, I grew up like a mile that way, and it might as well have been 100 miles away."
Because you didn't know.
Didn't know, and I had no connection. There's a beautiful and rich culture over there where I feel like sometimes Southside culture, where I'm from, got really topsy-turvy. It was really hard for me I didn't feel very well connected to the culture of the South Side, particularly of like black culture in the South Side. But I knew I wasn't connected to the North Side. Like,
Yeah.
and I ended up having an ambassador, and you think I'm kidding? I had someone that was like, let me introduce you to folks, and now I'm like, okay, I'm a little more comfortable without a doubt. But there was definitely that I don't think that thought process is too far removed from some people.
No.
I think the shootings of the 2010s are not so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People remember those days and those times, and so there is that push to say, I'm not real comfortable going over there. I'm not real comfortable being part of that, even though it's no longer even rational. I mean,
Right.
like nowadays, the Mason-Dixon line is not Dickman Road; it is Beckley or B Drive. That's where the Mason-Dixon line is. If you're on that side, then you have stars upon the R's. If you're on this side, you just want us.
Right.
Well, that's why I think it's so important for all these organizations to collab and do it big.
So we
Like-
got to start wrapping this up
Yeah.
because we're coming towards the end. But I think that what we came to out of these two shows is that our unhealthy community, meaning mental health, is because there just isn't enough connection in our community. There isn't enough people who are lifting them up. We kind of feel like the churches need to be doing more around that and community organizations. I think that Women's Co-op will be reflective on what it is that we think that we can do around this, right, Mia? Right, Val? We'll tell Kayla later. Maybe we'll put her in charge because she didn't show up today,
There
right?
you go. There you go.
I want to just highlight for a minute, Mia, tell us you are recruiting for what training programs at Women's Co-op?
We have industrial sewing, manufacturing, frontline, and janitorial.
Perfect. So if somebody wanted to do that, they could email, call.
Call the co-op, ask for Kayla or Mia, and we'll be happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Mia. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Any last minute thoughts about where you think this lands in the community? Like if we wanted to get up from this table right now and we are downtown and walk somewhere that we thought these are the people that could really help us address these issues, who is it?
I would say our spouses, our loved ones, and talk about our values. The more that everyone's talking about values, all the things we cover are covered on the concept of values. If we talk about what do we value good health, then you know what? I may not have ever went to therapy, but I
If
need
I
to.
value good health, I will. But outside of that family, who is those community organizations? Because Sean, no offense here, but you've rose up a little bit to where you know to have those conversations with your loved ones. We're talking about folks that may not be at that level to be able to do that. Or like Mia said, may not even know that there's health in the community. And again, I want to roll that number for Summit Points, Crisis Center for everybody. Like if you are experiencing some depression or you're just not feeling it and you think that talking to someone could help, you can reach out 24 hours a day to Summit Point's crisis line. But we're talking about something else too. We're talking about feeling disconnected. We're talking about being depressed, sad, isolated, because there just isn't anything here. Like, who is in charge of doing this? Like, is it our community foundation? Should we all be going to visit Brenda and saying, look, we're going to make you the fun police now, and you got to start advertising this stuff? Is it the coordinating council needs to go larger and live and start sending out newsletters? Is it the shopper that needs to have a section in it? Like, what do we do?
What if it's all
What
of
are
them?
the first steps?
I think the first steps truly are we take the people that are already, we reach out to the art community. If you want to know the best first step we can make,
the art
reach out to the
community.
art community, because those
It's not the pickleball players.
we are artists. What I can do with the pickleball, it's
It's art.
beautiful.
Okay.
It is art. Oh, I'll talk to you later. It's the art community by far. For all of history, we have relied on the art community to transmit history, values, beliefs, fun, all of that has come from the art community. And they have been devalued and not brought to the table in a way that's actually truly allows them to do what they do best.
And
So-
art is healing, right?
100%. So if we want to make it change right now, support a local artist. Find out where they're playing. Go out to Planet Rock. Show up and have fun. Go find any art that's happening and just show up and get some
Well, I
money
know
in
that
those
the Art
artists'
Walk
pockets.
is coming up. It's April, what? Anybody know the date for Art Walk?
No.
Last time I
See?
went to Art Walk, I set myself on fire on purpose for money. Not going this way.
Not a good idea.
It was.
Sean.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
But you know, the only place that I've heard about it, in all honesty, has been on the chamber because I'm a member. So they alerted me to it. But we're going to wrap it up, and we're going to leave Battle Creek with this thought. This is on our minds. We're going to have some further conversations with folks around town, I think, right? Mia, Val, Sean. And keep this present in our minds. So start some conversations yourself. Reach out to us. If anybody's interested in being the chief fun police officer, like we're totally good with that, we'll give you the title. But this has been great, and I hope that it's brought some awareness to folks in the community and gets people thinking, because I think a lot of what we said is true and holds merit. Sean, thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us. You're always wonderful to have.
Right on.
Mia, welcome. We'll be seeing a whole lot more of you. You're here, okay?
Always.
That's
Has
right.
such an attitude.
She does, doesn't
Can
she?
we talk afterwards? I want to just. We need to have a conversation.
She's a
You
teddy
need your
bear.
community, Val. Thanks for joining us, Battle Creek. We'll see you next time.